once I did discover indie publishing, I realized that was the kind of the track I wanted, because I like to control everything and I like to write kind of weird, little bit quirky stories. And I think it's really important to just get together with other authors and see what other people are doing. And then I just started to get more serious about my work and understanding about workshopping, and workshops aren't right for everyone, but some kind of critique, some kind of feedback, or way to get your work out to other people and see what their response is to it.
This is the future.
Hello and welcome to the Alternate Futures podcast, where we chat with indie sci-fi creators about their work, the world, and anything in between or beyond. Today I'm here with Kate Sheeran Swed. Kate loves hot chocolate, plastic dinosaurs, and airplane tickets. She's trekked along the Incan Trail to Machu Picchu, hiked along the glaciers in Iceland, and climbed the ruins of Masada to watch the sunrise over the Dead Sea. After growing up in New Hampshire, she completed degrees in music at the University of Maine and Ithaca College, then moved to New York City. She currently lives in New York's Capital Region with her husband and 2 kids and 2 cats, who are named after movie dogs. Kate is the author of several sci-fi and fantasy series, including The League of Independent Operatives, the Takata System, and the Parse Galaxy space opera series. Her short fiction has appeared in publications such as Fireside, The Young Explorer's Adventure Guide, and Electric Spec. Hi, Kate. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So the love of plane tickets seems fairly obvious due to your love of travel, but I was curious, what is it you like about plastic dinosaurs?
I think I wrote that bio back when I was working as an office manager at at Teachers College, which is a graduate college of Columbia University in New York. And I don't know why we had so many plastic dinosaurs in the office. It was I was in the social studies program. Maybe they were using them, but we had all these bins of plastic dinosaurs, and I would always take them and like arrange them on my colleague's desk, because they were professors and I was always there first in the morning. So I would just like arrange the dinosaurs in these like battle sequences and stuff, and it was really funny. And sometimes they would come in with students, and the students would be like, "Why are there plastic dinosaurs on your desk?" I don't know. It was whimsical, and it just reminds me of what a fun place that was to work, and what a fun that you can make an office environment fun.
Yeah.
So I think I wrote the bio way back then.
Because I was wondering if your dinosaur comment was to do with your kids at all, like stepping on plastic dinosaurs or something.
Certainly at this point, my son is very into plastic dinosaurs, but it does predate him actually. So
Excellent. And hot chocolate. So in our family, so my wife's Italian from Italy. And so if you've ever been there, they have their own particular type of hot chocolate. So my daughter feels herself a bit of a connoisseur and only likes Italian style hot chocolate. So I was wondering what your preference in hot chocolate was, for the record.
So generally I'm a coffee drinker, but just for the treat, when you want a treat, a hot drink that feels the most cozy, for me it's hot chocolate, and I like anything that's a little bit spicy. So I'll pretty much try any hot chocolate. I mean, I like the ones that I'll make them here with milk and the mixes and stuff, but if I find a place that has a spicy hot chocolate, like I don't know if you've seen the movie Chocolat, but that was a big thing back in the day, where she was making these spicy hot chocolates in the movie and everybody was into it. And I don't know. I love the combination of the chocolate and the spice. So,
Interesting. Yeah,
yeah,
no, I think
it's
my
a
daughter's
cozy drink.
she's a bit more of a purist. The Italian style hot chocolate is a lot thicker than.
Yeah, I have a feeling if I tried it, I would never go back.
I don't know. It's took me a while to get used to it. Actually, it was too thick for me for a long time, but I've kind of gotten used to it. But she drinks it like every second day or something. But she is healthy though. Otherwise, that's her only real health vice.
No judgments there. Trust me, I'm not in a position.
So you've done a lot of traveling around the world as well, by the sounds of it.
Yeah,
Was that for work
pandemic.
or any particular reasons, or just love of travel?
Well, some combination. When I was in my undergraduate program at the University of Maine, I did a semester actually in your country, over in Lancaster, England. And I really loved jaunting around to Scotland and going over to Ireland. And I just sort of, before I had kids, and then even before the pandemic, just kind of liked to jet set around. I mean, Iceland had some amazing deals back in the day when their economy was suffering a bit, and they certainly handled it in a smart way by partnering with the airlines. At least I thought so at the time, and getting tourists over there. So that was just a really inspiring place to visit. And then I married an Israeli, so I'm over in Israel every few years, and that's where Masada comes in.
Oh, that's interesting because
So,
I
but
met my wife in Israel as well. So,
really,
although she's Italian, we
like,
were both there doing postdoctoral work. So yeah, there's an
how
Israeli
neat.
connection. Yeah.
Where were you
Whereas,
studying?
so we were in
Or were
Rehovot
you?
in at the Weizmann
Okay.
Institute. Yeah. Which
Wow.
yeah. Which part were you guys in then?
His family is in Jerusalem,
Jerusalem.
and
Okay.
Tel Aviv. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's amazing how close everything is over there. Because so Rehovot, yeah, right between those two, and I mean, there's actually I think during Easter, there's the Christians go on a pilgrimage and walk from one to the other. So,
mhm.
so yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
yeah. It's
terribly
like
far away.
what, the size of New Jersey or something. It's just a little bit stretched out. It's small.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Yeah, well, that's interesting connection. And so you did your degrees in music then.
Yeah.
First of all, first thing that comes to mind is with your trip to Scotland, you didn't sort of fall in love with the bagpipes or anything, did you?
No, no, I'm a flute player, or I was. I haven't played in a while, and piano. Yeah.
Okay. And is that sort of maybe I'm wrong in thinking Takata? Is that a musical term? So is
It
that
is,
what
yeah.
inspired that series name then?
Yeah, I took musical terms. One of the books in that trilogy is based on each one of them kind of takes a classic literature idea and puts it in space, and they're kind of loosely connected. And the first one does Great Expectations, only Miss Havisham an AI is in the role of Miss Havisham, so a kind of a ship station artificial intelligence who has been jilted in love, and so that kind of drives the story, but it's sort of told from Estella's point of view instead of Pip's. And again, these are novellas, so they're pretty short. They're not encompassing the entire story, and they're inspired by more than anything else. But the second one is inspired by the Phantom of the Opera. So I did do a lot of musical terms, and I just, I tend to keep music kind of around in my work. I don't know. I was always writing even when I was in music school, so that's something that I've been practicing for a long time. But they come together.
Right. So that's interesting because so how did well, first off, you're my second musician I've had on the show, at least, if not more. But at least the second one who's done a degree in music. So I'll have to get you guys on at some point to chat over music and
Yeah,
sci-fi. But what
that'd
was
be
the
fun.
process then that led you from a music degree into finally starting to write fiction and especially science fiction?
Um, Well, I will say again, I've kind of been writing since sort of high school and even throughout. It's like these different creative. I was talking to a bunch of high school students yesterday about writing and world building, and I think fully half of them mentioned that they played some instrument or something like that. And some of them were sitting there sketching in their pads as we were all talking, and I'm glancing at what doodles probably to them that looked amazing. So I do think there is often sort of a dovetailing artistic, you're trying to find your way into what you want to be doing, and you just know you want to be creating. Frankly, with music, I didn't want to teach. I wanted to perform, but I wasn't really good enough, and I couldn't commit to that practice room time to learn my craft. I mean, I practiced a lot, but not as much as I needed to, and I didn't enjoy it as much. When I get writing, I get into the story, I can sit here for 6 hours just by myself. And, if I have that 6 hours uninterrupted time is the question, but just, you know, I don't, that's my passion. That's what excites me. And so even though I adored music, I loved music, I still love music. I want to listen to it all the time. And I kind of crave getting my flute back out or getting my piano set up and things like that. But I wasn't going to hack it, to be honest, as an orchestral musician. And so, you know, when I started really putting more time into writing, I realized that that was actually what I really wanted to be doing. And I would have a friend say to me, why are you pursuing music again when you're writing this fantasy book, which, by the way, will never see the light of day because that's one of those first novels that you stick under your bed. But um other people noticed it before I did.
With your 6 hours of writing per day, then potentially, if you get the time, you must have a
Sure.
decent active life to stay like unbroken, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, if I were to actually do 6 hours, I would break it up a couple of times. This year, I've just, checked into a hotel and done the kind of, I have a very supportive partner, so doing the weekend at the hotel, but it's like I will work for 90 minutes to 2 hours, and then I would, when I was at the hotel, it was lovely, go for a swim, come back, sit down, work some more, then go to the gym, then come back, work some more, and then maybe go back to the pool or something. So if I were actually doing that, what it typically shakes out to in my regular life is I get up at 5, I work until 7, then the kids have to go to school. So I get up and I get the kids breakfast and we're running around and doing all that stuff. And then I come back for a couple more hours. But usually I cap out on creative work for 4 hours or so.
Yeah, that's still pretty good. It seems pretty active. I wish I could get up at
Yeah.
5 in the morning, but I haven't succeeded yet. For a long
Yeah. I
time, I
mean,
couldn't anyway.
I'm a morning person. It's
Yeah.
not fair to ask other people to.
Well, we get up at 6:30. That's not too late, but there was a period when I would try to get up earlier, but then it would wake my wife up, and so it would kind of defeat the purpose anyway.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and I do go to the gym in the afternoon often before I pick up my daughter because it's tough. You're sitting at the computer. It's not good for your body. So
Yeah,
it's something
exactly.
you have to balance. Yep.
Yeah. So so you said you've been writing for a long time, but when did you sort of decide to sort of put these into publishable form?
I kind of go back to like around 2008, which is the first time that I went to a writing conference and started saying like I want to get serious. I want to get better at this. I know that I'm not at the level that I want to be, like, and I don't know how to get better. And so I went to actually at the time an RWA conference because it was just the closest one to me, even though I was writing science fiction and fantasy. And I met some really great friends there who are also writing science fiction. And we were able to do a critique group and get better over the years. And it took me maybe a couple of years to get anything that I felt was in publishable shape. To start, I was trying to query agents at the time. It was before I had discovered indie publishing. And once I did discover indie publishing, I realized that was the kind of the track I wanted because I like to control everything and I like to write kind of weird, little bit quirky stories. But I think workshopping those things, and then I did do an MFA, and I just want to say I'm not recommending that necessarily, but it was just a path that I ended up choosing, and I made some great friends there too. So it just kind of came together over time. But I go back to that first RWA conference. And I think it's really important to just get together with other authors and see what other people are doing. And then I just started to get more serious about my work and understanding about workshopping, and workshops aren't right for everyone, but some kind of critique, some kind of feedback or way to get your work out to other people and see what their response is to it. And I just found that I loved that. I loved looking at their work and analyzing it and trying to help them make it better, and the collaborations between authors and things like that. So I think it was around then and that was only a year after I left I graduated from the music program. So I really knew that at that point that I wasn't going to be doing much with music.
Right. So are you still involved in various workshopping groups or writing groups of some kind then?
I have a couple of writing groups. They tend to be like a little bit more. One of them's a kind of a support. We're just writer friends that chat together. The other one's more of a marketing mastermind, but we're always there. We're all writing science fiction or fantasy, and we're always there for each other if somebody specifically needs eyes on something. I mean, I use editors now. That's my main collaboration, but sometimes I've got a first chapter that just won't gel or something like that, and they're just incredibly talented writers, and they always have some great ideas. So not in a formal way anymore, but I still keep them on hand, and I'm always happy to reciprocate also.
Right. And so did you begin then with short stories trying to publish, or what was your sort of first steps into the actual preparing a manuscript and deciding which one you were going to publish?
Yeah, I would say stories were the place that I started, like trying to get into traditional publishing, and that's the first place where I started to see some traction and started to see like, oh, the people actually like these stories. They're entertaining to someone that isn't me, and I'm getting paid occasionally for them as I went forward with it. And I was kind of trying to work on a book that was a ripoff of Lord of the Rings and The Wheel of Time somehow simultaneously. But again, when you're writing early days, that's kind of not, I don't think that's so strange to be just sort of writing something that's not all that original and trying to find your way through putting a plot together and all of that. But it was definitely the short stories. But I always from the beginning, novels, I wanted to be writing novels. I wanted to be publishing novels.
And now you have so now you have published quite a number of them. You have quite a setup now. You have a really nice looking website. I've been around there a little bit. You've been doing Kickstarter projects. Are you primarily on Amazon? Because you're starting to sell your books. You're working towards selling your books from your website as well. So have you gone
Yes.
wide as possible, or are you staying? Or are you currently fairly narrow?
I've been wide since I think I released the Takata books into Kindle Unlimited right in 2019, actually almost exactly 4 years ago. The first one came out July 9th, 2019. And I put those in Kindle Unlimited because I was still trying to find my way around, but I always wanted to be a wide author. I always wanted my books everywhere. So by the end of 2019, I basically had everything, out in the wide stores. I'm not saying I would never, write something with Kindle Unlimited in mind. I like the idea of having my books everywhere, and my readers are with Kobo and Apple and Google, and as well as with Amazon. So it just kind of makes sense for me at this point.
Right. Did the Kindle
And
Vella,
yes, I'm selling.
yeah, did Kindle Vella make any changes in your approach to anything?
I mean, it was pretty great to jump into Kindle Vella right when it started because I just happened to be writing this story anyway that worked really well as a serialization because it was very fast-paced, young adult, dystopian, sci-fi. And I was like, fine, I'll just put it in Vella. And the bonuses that Amazon was paying at the time were just really great. So I made like a few hundred extra dollars. It didn't really change my approach though. I pulled those books out once that the bonuses stopped. I mean, you had to be really bringing your own audience in, and my audience just, they're not that interested in serial fiction. If you didn't have people who are already in serial fiction, and in terms of science fiction anyway, or my own experience, you had to really go after them. And I had been just kind of thinking, well, maybe it'll be like the early days of publishing on Amazon, and there'll be more organic discoverability by genre and stuff like that. But it just didn't really turn out to be the case for me. Maybe others had a different experience.
Yeah, I was wondering because you would have thought if it had proven a great success for Amazon, that by now they would have spread it worldwide, and we still don't
I
have
don't.
access to it. Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. I kind of stopped paying attention to Vella a little bit. I don't think I think it was one of those things where Amazon sometimes will just decide they're going to do this, or maybe they've got a department working on it, but they don't actually throw the full weight of Amazon behind it, which we didn't know it at the time. Like, will they throw their weight behind it and really try to push it and make it this big thing, or will they just let it like see how it does and throw spaghetti at the wall, which is a thing that they do sometimes. And I mean, they are always trying to innovate, so I don't want to just be trashing them, but I think they just threw the spaghetti at the wall and didn't give it a lot of resources. And I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, I probably saw a little bit of a trend among the youth demographic and hope to cash in on that. But so I was
Yeah.
wondering, how much time do you spend? Like you've mentioned, how much time you spend writing, more or less. Then what would your time devoted to marketing look like?
I always have a like 1 day a week afternoon where I'm definitely always working on admin from, well, during the school year from about 1 to 5. Just sort of making sure that my ads are ticking along or whatever if I'm doing Kickstarter. Right now I'm finishing up the Kickstarter and everything, and I'm finishing editing book 6 in the Parse Galaxy series, which is coming out in 2 weeks. So it's pretty much done. I just need to get it all uploaded. And then I'm doing more marketing kind of oriented things at the moment. It's taking more of my plate just because I'm also wrapping up the Kickstarter and I want to get everybody their stuff. So I'm communicating with authors and getting the final formatting done. And I mean, authors with artists that are doing the character art and things like that. So it kind of is this ebb and flow. If I'm drafting a book, I'm drafting it, and that's pretty much all I'm doing. So that's why I need that afternoon set aside to make sure that Facebook's not eating my money, or, I'm getting more newsletter subscribers, or I have a newsletter going out this week because I send a newsletter every week, and things like that. But otherwise, it's kind of between projects, I will devote a lot of energy to marketing for a couple of weeks or marketing admin. I mean, fulfilling the Kickstarter isn't necessarily marketing in itself, but it's fulfilling the promise to those people and making sure that they're getting their stuff, hopefully ahead of schedule.
Right. So do you run, I heard you mentioned Facebook. Do you run a fair number of Facebook ads regularly, or how do you approach
I
that?
have been. I paused them before the Kickstarter, and right now I'm doing another marketing kind of event project, but I'm going to be getting back into Facebook ads because they're great. When I was sending them into the prequel novella, to the Parse Galaxy series, I was getting really great read through from it. Like people, it was a way for them to find the series, I think, and they seemed to be enjoying it from the Facebook ads. So I haven't been putting, tons and tons of money into them, but even just like $5 or $10 a day to start with it helped me to get the wheels turning. And so I'm really looking to get back to it.
Yeah. Does that translate well into building a subscriber list at all?
So I haven't tried that yet, but it's actually one of the things I want to try. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm quite curious because so we did talk about, well, in the previous episode, we talked a bit about Kickstarter, and I wanted to get into a little bit about
Mhm.
that. I'm really curious how you promote a Kickstarter project.
So right now I have like about 2,000 people on my list, a little
Okay.
bit under that. And partly for me, for in terms of the newsletter, it was sort of about prompting them ahead of time, teaching them about what Kickstarter was. I ran kind of a test project last fall where I released those Vela books, the first two, into Kickstarter to see, how it would go, and it went well. I was happy with the results of it. And in terms of my list, I made this flight plan. And if you look at my blog, it's over there. It's like if you look at katesheranswed.com and then click on the mission log, the blog section, down at the bottom, it has all of the flight plan. And just for a few weeks ahead of time, I just said, this is what, what the project is, and this is how you use Kickstarter, and this is why you might want to, use Kickstarter. And I did convert some of my newsletter subscribers into it, some of my social media followers, but Kickstarter also brings people in as well. So they will suggest the project to other people who like science fiction or who like books. One of the nice things about Kickstarter is that it doesn't pigeonhole you into genre as much, because I love science fiction. I also love fantasy. So I want to see all those projects. I don't want to just see all of the spaceships. I want to see I don't know, dragons and things too. So they will bring in some people, and those subscribers also, this time I saw more conversion because I had subscribers from my Kickstarter campaign last time, which, by the way, I asked them as a survey question if they wanted to join my list. I did not. It would be illegal to automatically add a Kickstarter backer to your list. You need to ask them if they want to join, but a lot of them do. They say, yes, I want to get your emails. And that's always exciting because they're a warm audience and they're excited about your work.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen your flight plan. It looks quite good. Yeah.
Yeah.
You did the image
I
yourself
mean, it
for
was
that?
fun.
Yeah.
What's that?
Did you do the image yourself for that?
I did. Yeah, I
Oh,
did.
cool. Yeah. So how many Kickstarters have you done then?
Just two at this point. I just
Two.
finished my second one. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so I was wondering, sort of what's the process you go through? So, what prompts you to think, oh, I want to do a Kickstarter project. This is what I want to, what books I want to do. And then how do you decide on, your goals? Well, let's just go with that, the kind of the basics
Yeah.
from the beginning.
I'm kind of finding my way around it. And I think, like, one thing I did, I wish that I had done before this last one, which was the last one was just, it was for this hardcover edition of the Parse Galaxy, the first three books. And I think that one thing is kind of finding your way around, like, what do your readers actually want? And I'm going to poll my readers as well to see, what might excite them, because this did well, but it's a lot of work. Kickstarter is a lot of work. So if people are looking into it, I might try to get some research or feedback from your readers about what they actually want, because I think a lot of science fiction readers, what they really want is new books. They want to read something new. They don't necessarily want like the artwork and that maybe a fantasy romance reader might really be excited about. And that was, I don't want to speak too much in generalizations, because again, I have only done two, but I also talk with a lot of authors, and there's a Kickstarter for authors group headed up by Anthea Sharp on Facebook, and it is really a supportive group of people. You can post your campaign there for feedback, and so there's been a lot of discussion about this, about what is it that readers want in different genres, and sometimes it's like you just have to jump in and see what they want, but that's also really scary because it takes a lot of work. You put the story together. So I don't necessarily know that I have a process for it yet. I'm still in the learning stages and trying to decide, is this a way that my readers want to get their books? And I think it is, but I think maybe as awesome as this is, and I'm very excited to have the hardcover, because I would not have created this without Kickstarter. I got a map for it, which is really fun and exciting. I just think they may want new books, so I need to kind of think about that next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
To a degree, yeah. I mean, it does feel
Yeah.
like it's, as I mentioned in the last episode, it feels to me like it's a growing process now, or at least I think as MG Heron suggested, at least there are now enough training courses out there and enough knowledge around doing Kickstarter for authors that has become a more common, let's say, marketing tool, I guess, as it were.
Yeah, and I would say what exploded it was Brandon Sanderson making what 40 or 50 million dollars from his Kickstarter campaign. And what I really admire about Brandon is that he actually said in one of his blog posts that he wanted indie authors and all authors to see that there are options out there beyond Amazon. So he was really, it's on his blog somewhere. I can probably find a link to it. But he was very cognizant, or someone on his team was, of the effect that him running a Kickstarter could have. And what he did was essentially train all of his readers about Kickstarter. And so now they know how to use the platform, and it brought a lot of authors in as well. So I think that he really raised the publishing, not single-handedly, certainly. Monica Leonel and Russell Nolte have a great book about Kickstarter. Dean Wesley Smith has a free course that you can take because he feels so passionately about getting more authors onto the platform. It is also it's only there for a couple of weeks, so it's like, if it sort of feels like a book fair, maybe the closest to like Scholastic book fair that you could have online, because you can never replace the feeling of walking into the room. If you are familiar with book fairs, like as a kid, going in and getting books and feeling that freedom of it, it's like definitely not the same, but I feel like, oh, the books won't be here forever, and there are a lot of perks that come with them. And so as a backer too, because I back a lot of campaigns, it is a really fun way to find new books.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting developments. And again, I know it's been around for quite a while, but it does
Yeah.
feel like a last 5 years kind of thing to me has kind of exploded it. But yeah, being used for novelists, you could use it, like you say, to either provide new, more interesting content to the diehard fans, or as a kind of pre-order system, isn't it, to judge
Yeah.
the interest in new books. And then
Yes.
one interesting thing, which doesn't directly relate to us here, but in the comic book industry, which we mentioned in the last episode as well, which it's almost an alternative to, it's almost the alternative to the mainstream comic industry, where all the comic artists are making almost no money in the mainstream, whereas on the Kickstarter they're making hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. So it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much more money you need for the comics. Yep.
Yeah, your overall experience then has been quite positive with Kickstarter.
It has. I mean, it is another way of direct sales, and my favorite part is the direct interaction with backers. I mean, you know who's getting your books. I had a long conversation with one backer about like our favorite fantasy series. Like he noticed something in my Parse Galaxy series, one of the names of the characters, and just that back and forth with the readers is really great. I'm still finding my footing in terms of goals, but it's been a very good experience, definitely.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So you actually contact them individually, or do you have a list that you sort of blanket?
They give you both. So you can have backer updates which go to everybody, and basically you have direct access to them. Now what I do is I send an individual thank you note to every backer that backs the project, and I send them a free story that they can download right away. I just do that because I think it's really nice that they backed the project, and I want to give them something with no strings attached if they, because sometimes they have to drop off or change their reward price or something like that. But that kind of also, I have found that it also opens a conversation with them. Not always. Some of them just, go download the story, and most of them did. Looking at the book funnel downloads, most of them did download the story that I sent. Just, something that was random and that I thought they would enjoy if they were interested in the space opera. But some of them write back and say, start asking questions or just wanting to chat about science fiction and fantasy, and maybe that feels overwhelming if you're more of an introvert, which I actually am too, but at the same time it's not all of them, and they're enthusiasts. They really are. You're not I haven't experienced any trolls or anything like that. It's not like that. It's just a really nice interaction so far.
Oh, good. Yeah. So does the experience become a little bit addictive then? I know you're still finishing up from the last one, but are you already thinking of the next one?
No, I find it actually quite emotionally exhausting.
Okay.
I'm like, it's great, but also I'm traumatized. No, not really, but just it's so tiring, and I couldn't think of the next one until I am able to fulfill everything out of this one. It's not, I have books to write, and the first one didn't interrupt my my writing as much as this one did slow things down a little bit more. So I don't know why. I have no answer for why that happened to me, but I need to focus on writing some books. So I don't have a plan for what the next one might be. It's not, I didn't find it addictive. Maybe some other people do though.
So have they been getting more successful then, each one, or do you feel you're
So this
learning
one
from
this
them?
one made a little more than the previous one, but not as much more as I expected. However, there was a major slump with a lot of authors on Kickstarter in June and July, and I think it might have just been like the summer months. There was a lot of like debt ceiling talk in the US here, where people were maybe a little bit concerned about things like not looking at Kickstarter or buying a lot of books. And we're always questioning these things. Why was there sort of an overall slump? But part of it was also too that I was doing this like hardcover instead of focusing on the digital first, which I did the first time. So I did make more, but not as much more as I guess I just thought maybe it would pull in more people, and I don't think as many people were looking at the site in June and July, but I was still happy with it.
Oh, good. So that's actually your Kickstarter is a good segue into your books, because the Kickstarter was for the hardback version of the Parse Galaxy. Was it the first book of the Parse Galaxy series,
Yeah,
or
it's the first three. So I put them
first
together
three?
in like a big omnibus. Yeah.
Oh,
With also the short stories that are so far they've only been available to newsletter subscribers. And so now they've never been in print or anything like that. And it also has a map, and we got a stretch goal for some character art. So we're gonna add that too.
excellent. Yeah. I'm always personally, I love the maps and that kind of thing. I
Yeah,
also do love the kind of tome feel of a big sort of
I
solid
do too.
book.
And like it was fun because my books are like they're pretty small normally. They're kind of pulpy I say that in the best way. That's what I love to read, but they're small. So it's kind of, nice to have this big hardcover. It just is sort of beautiful.
Yeah, so just heft it up over your shoulder and
Exactly.
like another
Use it for
child.
weights.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Um, so it was in the Parse Galaxy series. So moving into your books then, And this is currently a six book series, but it's meant to be 8 altogether. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. It will be, the sixth one is coming out on July 25th. So I guess shortly after this goes out, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
the series should wrap up by the end of the year because I'm already working on the next book. Yeah.
Right. Oh, so that's something I wanted to jump into just before we delve into your books. Is
Yeah.
your publishing schedule, I suppose. Do you keep a fairly tight publishing schedule then?
Yeah, maybe too tight with this current one, just that but yes, I've been releasing a book like every 2 to 3 months in this series this year. And I write them pretty quickly. But anytime one gives, I was trying to like get the pace going a little bit faster because they just come out quickly for me, these particular books. But then with the Kickstarter, it sort of was like, oh, I need to give myself a little more buffer for the next one. But yes, I mean, I write quickly. So because I outline them and I always have sort of I already know how it's ending. I kind of know what the last book is going to be. So it's going in my mind throughout the series as I'm working on it.
Right. Have you done the world building fairly strictly and seriously then, or is that sort of organically developing as you write?
It's a bit of a combination. These characters first actually showed up in my superhero series, which you mentioned when you're reading my bio. I kind of was already realizing like, superheroes. Well, first of all, I knew that the superheroes had some origins or some connection to space. But this Parse Galaxy series is sort of the Guardians of the Galaxy to the Avengers, if you want to make that connection. I mean, it's a pretty loose connection, but in terms of tone, it certainly works. The superheroes are a little harder to place in the market, I think, and it's already a niche subject, and I didn't really write them the way most superhero writers write superheroes because I didn't know what I was doing. So those were the first novels that I put out, and I still adore those books. But I'm really glad that I tied the space characters in with that series, because folks who like my writing and are interested in that series, they'll go check it out, partly because they know these characters are going to show up and there's going to be some space involved at some point. So the world building has been kind of a slow build slow build of world building over since I was working on the second book in that series. And then, I have my map drawn out, but a lot of it is something that has evolved over time. And a lot of times I'll go, well, what's the problem? You know, for example, with space opera, a lot of times you need your characters to get somewhere faster than they scientifically could. So you've got Star Trek's warp drives, and you've got Star Wars using their hyperdrives, and so my world has these currents that kind of weave through, and it's this mysterious technology. They don't really know where it came from, and so I knew that going in, and then that's become a major part of the plot. So it kind of dovetails as I'm working on the series with the plot.
Yeah, that's interesting, the travel, because I've used sort of hyper streams in one of my stories, but mine were natural, so I didn't think to sort of weave them
Cool.
into a backstory of the plot or anything. I think there might actually
I mean, I think
be
it depends. Yeah.
there might actually be scientific evidence for something like that, vast rapid plasma streams between galaxies and things. But anyway.
That'd be awesome.
So you
Sign
do
me up. I'm there.
yeah, you describe it as, well, as you said, Guardians of the Galaxy meets the Mandalorian, basically, is I think how you described it in the descriptions on
Oh yeah.
your pages. Yeah. And I can see what you mean with Guardians of the Galaxy to the Avengers, and we'll definitely get to the superhero series because I'm quite interested on your experiences with that. But sort of what prompted you to write this particular series then, the Parse Galaxy series?
I started putting them into that superhero series, and I immediately fell in love with the main character, who is ridiculous, and she's sort of I like to say she has like kind of Jack Sparrow solutions to problems, like from Pirates of the Caribbean. She just will come up with she's not used to being in space. She's kind of thrown into this. Her uncle was an outlaw and ditched his spaceship with her and his crew, and he locked it to her DNA, and she doesn't know why. And that's the whole setup for for the story. And the series kind of arc overall is trying to figure out, what exactly is going on with that. And so she was just kind of a student, but rebellious one. She is 30, so she's a grad student, a medical student. But she also doesn't really see things in the same way that a lot of the pilots and people who have been hanging out. And so she will do things like crawl through a cannon to get out of a bad situation. And the person that she's clashing with at the beginning on the bounty that she's looking for, because she needs to fix her ship, so it seems easy to pick up a bounty, and is the fleet commander, who is very by the book and a little more like serious, and so there's a lot of conflict there.
So it feels from the descriptions I read, and unfortunately I didn't get a chance to read, although I really want to. It feels very space westerny, as you described it, sort of Guardians of the Galaxy meets Mandalorian. That feels kind of like a space western. Another one I might add in there would be maybe Cowboy Bebop, if you've seen that Cowboy anime. Bebop. Yeah, because it always feels it feels like, at least from the description again, that she sort of wins but loses in a way all the time, right? Like you say, she gets a ship, but she doesn't want the ship necessarily, right? And this is the kind of thing that happens in these kind of sort of space blues almost series.
And one of my readers kind of compared it to Firefly. If the worlds of Firefly and Star Trek collided, it's what it would be like. And I really liked the way that she worded that, because the worlds have collided together, and I liked the way she phrased it. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, Firefly would be the other one that comes to mind with that definite genre. So how did you've talked about sort of how the character came about in regards to the other series. What sort of was your process in developing this series? Because it is going to be 8 books long. So presumably you had sort of the starting point coming from the superhero series. But then how did you go about developing this and then developing the greater universe? And I'm curious also whether that universe feeds back into the superhero series, or will it at some point?
So in terms of planning of the series, this is just the kind of series that I absolutely love to read. So Lindsay Buroker is one of my favorite authors, and her Fallen Empire series is like this, where there's kind of this overarching plot, where she's got this ship and she doesn't want it. That's going to change, up and down. I don't think that's not really a spoiler. It's going to be surprising if she doesn't want the ship by the end, and the crew and everything like that. So I definitely, by the time I started writing it, already knew that she had this problem, and said that I wanted her to do some bounty hunting, and I wanted there to be, a goal for each book, so that the reader feels satisfied when they get to the end of that book, like that this story is complete. Now it's getting challenging as I'm wrapping up. I think the final 3 are going to feel more like a trilogy. And there are occasional cliffhangers, but usually those are just to hook you in, not hook you in a bad way, but just, this is what the next book's going to be about. Not so much, I didn't finish this story, and so now you have to read the next one to finish it. So I wanted to structure it around that idea, that there was an overarching plot that readers would want to know about. There's a romantic subplot, but it's, it's under the surface. It's not like a huge part of it. But it does drive a lot of the decisions that some of the characters make. And I don't think that that's off genre so much. Like Lindsay Buroker's books always do that, and I always like her Star Kingdom series as well. So it's just kind of, taking that idea and developing it forward. And I like to know how it ends, where the characters are going to end up at the end of it, before I really get in. Even if I don't know exactly what their conflict is going to be in book 5 necessarily. And the other thing I always do is I try to bring them into like neat worlds. So I like to put them on an ice planet in one book, or a junk pile in another book, and things like that. So that's a little haphazard in terms of like looking at it as an entire arc of a series, but it works for me pretty well.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that I do definitely the idea of the standalone, well, more or less wrapped up standalone kind of episodes within the greater series, definitely a good idea, and probably, I don't know, maybe more tricky than some people think, because not everyone gets it right.
And I don't think you could pick up book 5 of my book, just of the series, and just feel like you understood what was going on. And I would like to write a series where you would feel a little more like a thriller or something. I don't even know if there are a lot of sci-fi series that are doing that right now. So
Mm.
if you know of any, let me know, because I think that would be cool. But I don't, even though I do try to tell the story and make sure that that the reader is satisfied when they come out at the end, I still don't think you could pick up book 3 and understand where the characters are necessarily emotionally and in their character arcs. I'd love to write something like that though.
Yeah, it would maybe be a bit tricky. I know of an author who tried in England some standalone, like a 9-book series she had planned. And each book was standalone, but there were different characters within a larger story, which
Yeah.
then you don't have the feeling of continuity between each one. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's definitely got its challenges. But would you
I
say in
tried
the
that
first
with the Takatas.
yeah, would you say in the first couple books, in the first 3 books, maybe you would be able to more or less pick them up independently, or do you think they're still strung
I
together
think you
fairly
could
tight?
probably grab book 2 and pick it up. And maybe I haven't designed it that way. So I do remind readers of who people are and things like that. But by the time you get to book 3 picks up like seconds after the end of book 2. So even there, it's not quite, I don't think it would be as easy to figure it out. It's more like I mean, I guess it's like starting to watch a soap opera. It's not a soap opera, but that's not the first thing I can think of. In the
Well, I guess
middle, you're like,
yeah.
well, they're gonna remind you what's happening because that's the kind of story it is, but you don't really know like who this character is or why they're in the hospital or why they're yelling at that person and throwing water in their face. So I guess you could pick it up, but there's this whole kind of overarching story of like someone's trying to establish a galactic empire and keeps like making all these grabs for power. And if you don't know who the players are, it might be tough to jump in the middle.
Yeah, I suppose that's an issue with any series, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
you just have to come back to that. I was curious. I mean, I constantly wonder. I mean, there's so many great series out there, and I wonder why companies like Netflix haven't sort of trolled um the indie sci-fi space for some of their new
Tell
series.
me
I mean,
about
they're
it.
dumping all of this money into stuff that's going nowhere often. I mean, Netflix may not be the worst, but obviously Disney's doing a lot of that. But there's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much potential, right, for
Yeah.
great series.
Hey, if they even just ask me for a list of authors, they don't even have to come to me. I'll just be like, I will tell you whose books I want made into a series. And some of them could be episodic or could be more like The Mandalorian with like 8 episodes. And like you don't want to pick up episode 5 of The Mandalorian and have no idea like who Baby Yoda is. I know we're not supposed to call him Baby Yoda anymore, but I can't stop calling him Baby Yoda. It's sort of the same deal. But yeah, I would love that. That would be amazing because I don't think there's enough sci-fi on TV. I mean, Amazon just put all this money into this show, Citadel, and I
Mm.
was so excited about it because I love Richard Madden and Stanley Tucci, and I can't get into it so much. I feel like they put more into the special effects than they did the story, which is a shame because they have incredible actors.
Yeah, I think this is a common thing now, and Amazon seems to be one of the biggest ones, most guilty of it, with a lot of their
Yes.
series. I don't know if it's because all the good writers are retiring or they're just trying to bring in a bunch of new writers. Maybe they're cheaper. I don't know what's the
To
excuses.
pay them less. Yeah,
But
I don't know.
yeah, something's happening. But I
Yeah, I
saw the
think
Citadel.
sci-fi is expensive.
I didn't watch the Citadel, but I did see it, the advertising. I thought, oh, that looks maybe interesting. But then I saw the reviews and people were just not liking it. So I'm like, okay, I won't
The
bother.
level of my disappointment, I have to tell, because I adore those 3 actors. It's really like Richard Madden's one of my favorite actors. I think he's really underrated. Priyanka Chopra is great. It didn't hook me with the characters. I like don't care about them at all.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Well, it's like I don't it's like it reminds me of Jupiter Ascending. Did you see that?
Oh yeah.
I was so hyped for that. I was like, finally, we've got another epic space opera coming.
Yeah.
And then it was such a letdown. I
I know.
was
I knew what it was going in, and so I watched it on a day when I wanted something that was just going to be utterly ridiculous. But if
okay.
I had been expecting like something as good as The Expanse, I don't know if you're an Expanse fan, but you could try that show. It's really
I've heard
good.
it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that could keep you going for a few seasons. It's
But
done now. The books, it didn't finish the books, but it was amazing.
yeah, but it's the only one that anyone comments on, right? It's the only one that people will suggest.
Yeah,
There's literally one good, space opera kind of series on TV right now.
yeah. Other than Star Trek, like The Strange New Worlds is pretty good. I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, I've heard mixed
But
comments on that one, but yeah, but yeah, with Jupiter Ascending, I was just like, what is this? Like, this is
yeah, it's
antithetical
so
to
weird.
everything we're supposed to be watching. We're supposed to be liking, right?
No,
And
it's like
and yeah,
it's
yeah,
very strange.
yeah, no, it was. So I'm curious with in
Oh,
regards to
Foundation. I'm sorry, one more thing. I'll tell you Foundation on Apple. Incredible space opera show. It doesn't it's like inspired by Asimov. If you're really, really a purist on it being like Foundation the book, then don't watch it. But I love it. I think it's incredible. I'll just add that one.
right. So I think the reviews I've heard probably are, let's just like you suggest, the purists who aren't really enjoying
Yes.
because of
So
the
I
changes that have been made. Yeah.
yeah. But it's difficult to put something like Foundation onto the screen without making those changes. And but I personally am not much of a purist. But I want the story to be good. So
Right.
that's, grain of salt. So if you are one, then don't watch it. But I think it's really great.
Excellent. Um, I was wondering, and again, in regards to your Parse Galaxy, so you basically have a main character who's been given a spaceship and a crew, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was wondering if that happened to you, um, what would you do, and what would be the first place you'd go, for example, assuming you didn't just try to get rid of the ship.
Yeah, because I'd probably be like, well, I probably do what she does and be ridiculous. I mean, every moment she's just trying. She's a lot bolder than I am, for sure. And but I'd probably be like, this isn't my problem. But if I said this was my problem, yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. I feel like I don't know if I would go after her uncle because she spends the first few books chasing after her uncle trying to find him, and I'm thinking, well, maybe he should just stay missing. I'll go have my own adventures and you know, maybe less dangerous ones. So, let's see, some of the cool spaces in the world, they have some cool resort moons and things like that, or that are basically just tourist destinations, which by the time they get there, they're kind of abandoned. But I wouldn't mind visiting one of those beaches. That's kind of boring, but I'll leave the adventure to my characters and let them get into danger.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing that I would have loved to have happen to me, for example. I mean, people always have
Yeah.
asked, you always ask you, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to do? What's your, interest? And I could never get involved in any careers excitedly because that was kind of always my dream, right?
Yeah.
Like I would have loved
Yeah.
to have been gifted a ship that I could fly around the galaxy in.
I mean, that
And
would be
since it's not
awesome.
likely to happen, yeah.
I mean, and really ultimately that is what Sloane wants, is to be, and the if you read the prequel novella out there is free, and it deals with her going on one adventure with her uncle and the crew before he like saddles her with the ship. And really there's this hint that like she's not all that happy with her career choice and she would rather be having adventures too, but she feels like maybe that's not going to be viewed as okay by the standards of where she's grown up and all that stuff. So she wants that adventure for sure.
So she's worried it's not the adult choice to make, basically.
Yeah, I mean, which is ridiculous because she makes no adult choices throughout
All
the
right,
series.
okay.
She's very immature, but I hope in a fun way. I mean, I love Peter Quill in the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I just wanted to make people laugh. So, I mean, there are serious moments for sure. It's not just it's not only humor, but there is a lot of humor in it, and just wanted her to be ridiculous.
Right. I was curious if you because one thing I missed in Star Wars, and I think they missed the opportunities, especially in The Last Jedi. Um the idea, she's basically feels like, well, she's a bounty hunter, so that would be in Star Wars terms like that. Well, there are bounty hunters, but I mean the sort of smuggler's life, it reminds me as well, the whole criminal underworld, which is something I always wanted to see more on the screen. Like in the books, they developed it, They never
Yeah,
really developed on the screen. And so have you sort of built that kind of thing into your stories then?
a little bit. The basically in the first book, and you really just too, for anybody, you don't have to read the superhero books in order to start the space operas. The space operas are meant to be a starting point, if not the starting point for the universe. But there is a reaction from the end of the space, a consequence, there's the word, from the end of the superhero series, which is that the main villain of that series was actually the overlord of this one system in the Parse galaxy that everyone just kind of avoided. Like they set the current so you can't even leave there because he was so powerful. They didn't know why, or why he had these crazy powers, because nobody else in the Parse galaxy has powers like that. But now the superheroes have taken care of him in another galaxy, and that whole system is like a power vacuum. And so a lot of, I mean, it starts with her kind of on the remains of this shattered planet, walking around in this haphazard city, trying to get this bounty. And she's often, so there are legal bounties where there's a guild that kind of oversees them, and then there are illegal bounties, and she really has no problem going after an illegal bounty if that's going to get her there the fastest, because she just wants to get out. But I mean, I love cities like that. I love a beautiful city that has a dark underworld. I love an ugly city that has a beautiful underworld. There are a lot of underworlds and underground, literally underground, but also just like kind of criminal spaces. And the fleet is just kind of they're sort of like Starfleet in that they are. I didn't actually intend them to be that way, by the way. I didn't start by being a Trekkie and coming into this. I'm a new Trekkie. I don't even know if I'm allowed to call myself one yet. But they kind of just make sure that political problems and aren't spilling from one system to another. And if somebody needs some protection or help with arbitration, they're less violent and more kind of trying to mediate troubles that are going on. So they're around in this criminal strewn galaxy trying to make it so that doesn't spread throughout the entire galaxy. So yes, I love that. And I agree about Star Wars. I think some of these shows I think they're missing some opportunities to go beyond the story of the original trilogy, which is my favorite. It's always going to be my favorite, but I think you can leave that behind a little bit and explore some of these other corners of the galaxy, which the Mandalorian started doing and then kind of veered away and veered back. So I agree 100%.
I think they have yeah, it feels like there's too many writers who don't really enjoy the source material. I think that's a general criticism people have of the sort of new phases of the MCU as well. And in the original MCU, you could see the love of the characters and the lore.
Yep.
In the new ones, it doesn't seem to be there. They've just grabbed writers off the street almost and said, "Okay, write a story." Right?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the MCU as a whole. I'm very disappointed because they're finally bringing more women in. They're finally making it more diverse. And some of the stories, like I feel bad saying this, some of the stories just simply aren't as good as they were early on. And I wish that they would put that, don't add diversity just for diversity's sake. Like, add diversity, sure, we all want to see ourselves on the screen. I'm in favor of it 100%, but I think that they're not doing it as carefully, or I don't know, as joyfully, like you're saying, as I'd like to see them doing it. I don't know, like Black Panther, for example, that first movie, that was incredible. It's one of my favorite Marvel movies. Can we get more of that kind of writing in the current Marvel series that are going on? I mean, I've stopped watching them, and I love Marvel. I love Marvel, but I don't.
Yeah, the diversity thing is weird because I mean, I think there's the two kinds of people. Like, I personally don't want to see myself on the screen. I want to inhabit the characters that I like on the screen. But there are people that clearly, like you see this in the sort of online video games. There are people who like to put themselves into the character, and then there are the people who like to create the characters in their own images. And I feel like we're kind of giving the writing chores to most of that second group that want to see themselves on the screen.
Yeah.
But at the expense of the story. Like, either way, it doesn't matter as long as the story is good ultimately, which is not.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's difficult when, you love these stories and you've grown up loving these stories, and you've never seen you know, if I'm a Black woman and I've never seen myself in a Star Wars movie or something like that, like that's something that gets so ingrained in you that you know, you start to internalize it and say, well, nobody wants to read stories about somebody like me. I just wish that they would take more people of those groups that love Marvel and have them writing them, instead of having a white lady like me try to write that experience. And I think, like, I liked Ms. Marvel, for example. Like, that was a pretty well done show. It was pitched to a younger audience than I am, but I thought that it was pretty good. It's like story wise in terms of some of the things we've seen recently. So I don't really think it's about, you know, the character is a woman or the character is Black or anything like that. I think it's about, we need to be writing good stories and maybe fighting less about the color of the actor's skin.
Yeah,
That's
but
just my personal opinion.
I wonder if some of the issue is particularly the color of the writer's skin, like you say. So they will bring people in, but those people, the diverse writers they bring in, don't have an interest in the lore, right? They're just grabbing whoever happens to be popular at the moment, and that's part of the consequence of what's happening is that you're not getting, like, you're not filtering further, right? So it's fine, whatever. I don't, you know, it doesn't matter what the color of the writer's skin is to me. But as long as they love the lore and the subject matter they're writing. So if you want to have more Black writers, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that they love the lore, right? The ones you get. Otherwise,
I mean,
you end
I would
up
almost
with a
think,
bit of a mess.
I think it might be the more that the studio is putting undue pressure on writers to create something. Like, they're giving them these set of parameters that they need to do in a story, instead of, because we know that is the case, right? That Disney or Marvel will say, like, this is what the story needs to be about, and not give them enough room to kind of work with their own creativity and what the MCU is putting on them. I just feel like we have not seen enough Black writers in Hollywood, and so I want to give them a chance to be there. Like, I'm a white lady, so I can't really speak to this, and I feel a little bit uncomfortable trying to say that, because I don't want to be here judging like how much they are interested in that particular subject matter. You know, like, that's not, are we worried about how interested you know, one of the white writers is in the subject matter? Like, I don't know, it just feels like I'm a white lady, I'm very privileged, so
I mean, in terms of race, I mean, I don't want to go into it too deeply. For me, it doesn't matter if you get a white writer, it's the same problem. They still need to be in,
right,
and I think we've seen enough of that as well, right? We have seen,
absolutely,
like,
yes,
white writers who aren't interested and they produce garbage as well. Again,
yeah.
that's
I just wanted to
literally the
clarify that,
destruction
because
of,
I just wanted to make sure that we weren't trying to say that, you know,
no.
the
I mean,
color
I'm
of
happy
someone's
with
skin is saying
whoever
that.
writes, as long as they produce a good story that understands the lore. Like, if you can do that,
Exactly, yeah,
that's and I think what happened also, there's so much that happened in phase 4 with Marvel, and we will tie this
yeah,
into your your superheroes. But I mean, one of the things is just that they didn't seem to have any idea what to do after the first 3 phases, and so they didn't give, like you said, they
yeah.
didn't give the writers any guidance, really. The writers and directors had no idea where the stories were fitting in the timeline. And so we still
Yeah,
have the pet peeve of most Marvel fans is this giant celestial sticking out of the earth that
right.
absolutely no one's talking about.
That movie was ridiculous. I saw, I was like, I yeah,
Yeah,
I
that was
just
just crazy,
disliked
right?
that.
It's still there. It's still there, like several movies and a
I
whole bunch of
know.
series later, and no one's, it got mentioned, I think, in a
I mean,
sideline of
really,
Spider-Man or something.
the Eternals felt like something that they should have built the Phase 4 toward, instead of just throwing it into the MCU like we knew. Like, it had too much in it for us to all take in and love the characters, and I just thought it was not well put together at all. But that could have led you to an entire new phase, you know, the end of a new phase with that, because that's such a good point. Like, no one's really mentioned it, except I think there was maybe a quick comment in Spider-Man. Like,
Yeah, there was like
it
a
just doesn't feel as
sidebar or something.
cohesive. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I
It's
think
just
this is
throwing
where
stuff
you
out there.
your spaghetti on the wall comment,
Mm,
they just feel like phase 4. Okay, let's see what sticks. We'll just throw everything there and let's see what sticks. And nothing is sticking at the moment.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
yeah, but
100%.
so that leads us into your superhero story, in a roundabout way,
Yeah,
which was the League of Independent Operatives, and it's a 5-book series. Is it finished at 5 books, or you have more? It is
it
finished, right?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's finished. Yeah.
And you've likened this to sort of, so for people listening who wonder what kind of superhero story, you've likened it to the Watchmen, Umbrella Academy, and the Renegades, that kind of superheroes. So not
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
the
And I would say kind of like the early Avengers too. It's like a team of superheroes rather than an origin story. So I guess that's kind of why I was going with those, that it feels like with all of those stories, the the team is already underway. You're not seeing really how they got their powers necessarily.
right. I mean, at least in 2 of them, the team tends to break up as well, or there's
Oh
lots
yeah.
of
Oh yeah.
infighting within the team as well.
Oh totally. Yes.
Um, so
So much
first
drama.
off, yeah. So first off, why did you decide to write a superhero series?
So I was really, speaking of Marvel, just this is when I realized what Marvel was doing with the phases, like with the Infinity Saga, and it's pretty early on. My husband and I had been watching Agents of Shield, and the first season was like kind of bad in the beginning. And this here's another example of them, because I read later, this is what I read, that they didn't tell the writers what they were planning, and they wouldn't let the writers, like with the with Hydra, essentially the reveal of Hydra. But they told them, you can't do these things and you need to set up these characters, maybe one is a traitor, and they didn't know anything more than that. And so I remember we were watching it, and then we went to go see Captain America the Winter Soldier, and that was when it's revealed that Hydra has been behind the scenes all this time. And I turned to him and said, that's why the plane turned around at the last Agents of Shields episode, and it felt so like tied in together. And then after that, that show got really good because suddenly they could like work with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so, just quickly talking about it not being about color, I mean, those characters are mostly white. So anyway, so they I was just so excited. I was so like, oh, this is amazing. And I was so inspired by that. And I just started thinking that I wanted to build a universe that was that big and that, encompassing all these different stories. And so I wanted to make a team of Avengers that was, I don't know, just my own thing. So I say that was the inspiration, but they're not carbon copies of the Avengers. The main character doesn't have any powers or anything like that, but some of the others do. And I loved the conflict. I loved the humor of it, and the kind of, I don't know. I just love everything about it. So that was my main like inspiration when I started thinking I want to build a big story universe, and I'm going to start with superheroes.
So yeah, so I mean, I got the impression your main hero was a cross between sort of Catwoman and Batman type thing, like you said,
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
powers, that sort of
definitely. Or like
gadget.
Oliver Queen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's definitely got like the heiress. I definitely like, I wanted to pull in tropes that I love, like the superhero tropes. And so she's got the heiress thing going on, and like the tragic backstory and stuff. But, it's the interactions between the characters, I think, that, make it a little more that you get away from that, some of that shorthand for
Right.
sure.
So I'm curious, like how you balance that, because like you say, there are certain tropes that are kind of expected, but
Yeah,
almost now they're almost like groaned at when you hear them. And so how
right.
did you
It's true.
balance that, right? To get something seeming fresh but still
Yeah.
tropish.
That was the first full-length novel I published. So I would say, it's still kind of it's a learning process for me. And like I said, it's written more like in the style of an epic fantasy with a kind of different point of view characters, rather than a lot of the superhero books that you would see right now in the category on Amazon are first person. They're an origin story. They might be even slightly younger characters. And so, but I didn't know any of that because I didn't know what I was doing. And so I wrote this book that was in my heart. And I think it's good. I think it's pretty good. But I also think I got better as I went through the series of kind of figuring out what this was really about and what the heart of the story really was, which is just this family of people that have been, they were persecuted, and then they thought that, well, I can't spoil the ending. I can't. There's a couple of twists in the book that really do take those tropes and the idea of like a supervillain and turn them around. And so that was what I was trying to work with a little bit. So even though you have your heiress trope, you also, like, I sort of set up all these expectations, and then some of them I took and turned them. So even in that first book, and I did work with some editors who, helped me to make that work well and not mess it up. But I don't know, I guess that taking the expectations and sometimes turning them on their heads can be a really exciting thing for readers, and they tend to really like it when they find it and they know that they like it, because it's a really hard one to explain to people sometimes.
Right. So I was wondering, like, do you really think it's the relationships, the character relationships, you build sort of a lot of cross character relationship, like a network that gives these kind of things their strength? Because again, going back to the MCU, in the first three phases, we did clearly, well, not only was each character developed well, but also their personalities in relation to each other were cemented basically within the first Avengers movie. And that's something that's really been missing in the new phases, right? So is that something
Yeah.
you put a lot of effort into then, developing these
Yeah.
relationships between all the characters?
Absolutely. I mean, Mary, again, she's more tortured than Sloane, but she's still not, I mean, she's still funny because I don't really write that serious of books, but she has a more serious backstory. And she's more reckless, though. She doesn't have powers, and she's always kind of just she was raised by these superheroes, basically. So she spent her life kind of trying to keep up with them. And she's lost a lot of people in her life, but her adopted sister, who kind of runs the organization now, her mother is ill, and she's taken this mantle on her to run everything, and she's much more serious and too serious. And I guess I really like that conflict of, like, people trying to find themselves, and like one going in too reckless of a way, and the other one going in too serious, and they have to kind of find their way in. And then you get other characters showing up and enacting their own will. And so I think it's really important for all those characters to have their own motivation, even if they don't have a point of view. They have an opinion about the way this should run, and they have ideas about what's best for the world because they're superheroes, or how best they should be superheroes, and what that power really means, because it's about a power dynamic. I mean, when you're talking about, I think I just read a quote from Tracy Dion, who was saying, she's the author of Legendborn, and she was saying that magic systems are often about power dynamics, like who has it and who doesn't. And so I think superheroes, whether it's magic or science, or however you want to put it, it's a similar thing. So the way those characters approach that power and what they do with it is important, and that is the whole point of the series, is like, what are we doing with this power, and is it okay, really, that we have these powers? So that's in a nutshell, really. It's 5 books, but yeah,
Right.
the characters, it lives out through the characters.
Because one thing I was wondering, sort of again separate from the story now, getting into the sort of author perspective again, was just how well it was received. Because superhero novels, I mean, the whole superhero genre is primarily visual, being comics and then movies. And when you put it into novels, like, again, I do occasionally, because I have one myself in process, and I look on the Amazon, top superhero list, and most of them I don't consider to be superhero stories. The ones that show
Right.
up in the UK,
Yeah.
anyway, they're mostly fantasy and things like that. So what I'm wondering is just how well received was this with readers?
Listen, the people who find it really like it. But it's really difficult to get it to readers, because they're like, oh, people say, oh, this wasn't really what I expected, but I like it, and then it's kind of like, that's the entire problem why it's hard to find it. And so it doesn't have a huge audience. I sell more now than I ever did when I first started, because I say at the end of the Parse Galaxy books, hey, these characters show up in book 2 of my superheroes. So if you read different genres and you want to check that out, here's the link. And for a while I had book 1 free, and that was like doing okay. But I mean, readers like it. They like the twist. They like the team. But I don't pull in typical superhero readers, because you're right. First of all, the category usually shows a lot of urban fantasy right now. And people kept saying, like, is this urban fantasy? And I'm like, well, not really. It's like contemporary fantasy, which is, you would think, the same as urban fantasy, but not exactly, because it's not in the city. I mean, I'm glad that I didn't know, because the books wouldn't be what they are. I hadn't learned how to study the market. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I'm also glad of that, because I like the books the way they are, and I wouldn't have wanted to try to force them into something that's pretty niche, and I wasn't going to keep writing in that niche anyway. So well received. The reviewers like them because if they found it and they kept reading, then it was something that they were interested in reading. But it's hard to get people to want to try it for all the reasons that you said.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Have you ever thought of doing a Kickstarter to make it into a comic book?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I might do something like that
Uh,
one day, or some volumes of it or something. I may do, I have a project in mind that might bring like one of the characters into the Parse Galaxy, not in the, I had thought about bringing one of the characters into this series, but it's really not about them traveling to other galaxies. And I didn't want to be like, here's my other series. And it would have been just felt like, jazz hands, go read these books. And I just didn't want to do that. But I do have another, not really quite ready to talk about, but I have an idea that could maybe bring them in tangentially. Sometimes you also have to just be like, that's not the series that sells, and that's okay, and the fans find it, and maybe I'll do a comic book or find a way to make it, because I do love them a lot, but it's just they don't, it's hard to tell people whether what they are.
right. Yeah, no, that is an issue with novelization of superhero books, I think, in general.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't let it discourage you. Jeffrey
Yeah.
Haskell is an author who writes superhero books, and he's super successful, and he has his
Okay.
books in KU and stuff, so maybe he'd be a good person to bring on.
So we're starting to get a bit later in the show, but I wanted to touch on your last adult series, which is the Takata System trilogy.
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's yeah. I mean, you have a YA series as well, and
Mhm.
we'll get
Yeah.
time to discuss that one. But I wonder if you could just sort of summarize for us the Takata System trilogy before we. There's
Yeah.
a few things I'd like to bring up about it. Yeah.
Yep. So those were the ones, those are, I have the two posters of the first two books here. Those are the ones that are the first ones based, that's the first one I ever released. It's a novella. All three of them are novellas. It was me saying, do I like releasing indie books? And I did. I loved it. So the first one is a kind of far future take on Great Expectations, with an AI in the role of Miss Havisham, which was really fun to write. And then and Astra is the Estella character, and she is an assassin, rather than just a heartbreaker. So it's definitely inspired by. And then there's the second book is the Phantom. It's taken on the Phantom of the Opera. And these have separate characters in each one. So kind of one of the things you were talking about before, you could read them individually. There's an overarching story. But they're a little bit more focused on the romance, but not totally. It's all closed door, nothing steamy or anything like that. And then the third book is, I kind of tend to say that it waves to Treasure Island as it passes by. I have a lot of references to Treasure Island in it. I love Treasure Island, but by the time I got to wrap up the story, I couldn't quite bring it into Treasure Island as much as I wanted to. So it just kind of finishes off the trilogy. And, that was the first time I was writing 3 books in a series. So but those books people like, and again, they're more, they sit directly in space opera. And so after they read the Parse Galaxy, a lot of times what they go back and get the Takata books, because they are also space opera.
Right. Yeah, well, that's very interesting how you structured those around other stories, but with a sort of very modern twist. But what struck me that very interesting was, like you said, the AI, and the way. Well, I mean, it's not a spoiler because it's in the early stages of the book. But the AI is manipulated, essentially, emotionally
Mhm.
manipulated, which is interesting because that's something at the present time we're not really considering too much with our AI. Um, and so, well, first of all, I was curious then whether you've developed this or not, the emotions of that AI, were they sort of naturally learned within the AI and then taken advantage of, or were they programmed in your story?
The idea is that the character who manipulates the AI, who is her, he convinces her that she takes on a woman's persona. He convinces her that he's in love with her and he's going to get her a body. Now, he's actually been experimenting with illegal programming. He's not supposed to have been programming her to have these feelings or to be doing the various law breaking that he has her do. And so that, even though it is illegal, it's programmed, but her ability to love is something that she develops because of that programming and because those restraints have been taken off. So it's a little bit of a combination.
Right, which is an interesting point as well. Within, I mean, we discuss AI a lot on this show, and I
Yeah,
mean that's
I'm sure.
yeah, I mean that's one of the big issues, isn't it? Is okay, we approach AI with the idea of, well, currently there's a few companies who are developing it. Oh, and we have to be really careful about the kind of things we feed it, and but then we completely forget that we're not the only ones doing this, right? There's going to be other big actors, and there's going to be other small actors once the technology becomes
Yeah,
easy enough to replicate, and we will lose complete control over this as it continues. Do you
it's
think
true.
it's likely that we'll get AIs with well, first of all, do you think it's likely we'll have intelligent or self-aware AIs?
I don't know. I mean, certainly when I wrote this, it feels like not that long ago. It's like four, or maybe started writing it 4.5, 5 years ago, but it's like it certainly wasn't as much in the forefront of the conversation as it is now. Although, as you say, sci-fi has certainly been talking about AI for a long time, and I love a sassy AI, so that's part of my reasoning for working with it here. And I don't know, because I feel like probably it would be best to keep these things compartmentalized, because I watch too much science fiction. They might just decide that we've messed it all up and they're going to try to fix everything, and we might not like the way they fix it. But I quite honestly don't really see that as being something that would happen. I worry more about kind of AI hacking and, getting into sensitive information. But I don't. I know there are a lot of people that know a lot more about it that are worried about it. So I don't. I don't see them necessarily developing this kind of, like, power that Satis in the book develops.
Yeah, I suppose the part that concerns me, if that is a potential reality, which I kind of feel that it is, to be honest, myself, and I could go into my reasons, but that's not the point here. I'm concerned kind of with the Matrix idea, right? The that threshold, that period where we won't accept the let's say that they're actually self-aware. Like if it
Yeah.
does happen, there will be a period of adaptation where we'll have to learn what it means. How do we know if they're self-aware, etc.? And meanwhile, they'll be advancing at like 200 times faster than we are, at least. And there's going to be that natural period of conflict. I don't think an AI will necessarily, like the Terminator type AI, but
Right.
I do feel that there's going to be some inherent conflict within humanity, at least anyway, whether the AI will
Yeah.
just circumvent that because it'll develop fast enough to get around it or not. But then there's also the idea of, well, with you got reparations, with your country talking a lot about reparations and slavery and stuff right now. The idea that will an AI interpret the way we treat machines, let's say especially just prior to self-awareness, as a form of slavery, right? And the fact that we abuse and throw out our machines, and we make all these extra machines, and we just toss them in the refill sites and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I just read In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune is a book that I just read, and that certainly has, some uh some of those echoes in it. And Becky Chambers' Wayfarer series, also the second one, I think, and I can't remember the name of it, but A Closed and Common Orbit. And there's a lot of like kind of AI rights sort of discussion and the rights of these machines. And let me just tell you, I always tell Chat GPT thank you if I ask it for something. Okay. I want to be the one that treated it nicely.
So does it answer you? Does it reply then? Does it say
It
you're
says
welcome?
you're welcome.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So happy I could help. I'll be
Yeah.
like, I appreciate you.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Because I mean, it
That's
took
my
us so long to accept in many ways other people's, right? When you get, especially when you
Yeah.
get different power strengths between cultures, and then I mean, we might be on the receiving end of that, which is the frightening
Yeah.
part, because it will advance fast enough, but then there will be limitations. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting century. I feel.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I have to agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have a character which, as you said, is like Great Expectations, is controlled essentially by the AI. And we're currently and to a point where she has a difficult time getting outside of that control. And we're entering a point where we're not too far off from that kind of thing either. Thanks to Elon Musk, who I do think is doing some great stuff, but he's also, it's always a two-edged sword, right? And so, AI you've got, plus then you've got like Neuralink when that gets kind of commercialized, and then you've got Starlink. And so you've got global internet access to an embedded microchip in your brain. And that spells almost a recipe for disaster, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I will not be opting in on that. Even though some like Lindsay Broker's Star Kingdom series uses, they all have these chips, but they are manipulated against the characters at certain points. So I don't know about that idea. I don't know. I know it's in a lot of sci-fi. I've put it in sci-fi, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of I find this a difficult period as a sci-fi fan, because so much of my fantasies from youth are coming true.
It's true.
And I can see all the horrors that they can bring, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah, it's
not
true.
not like this.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not all utopian Federation, is it?
Yeah, all the potential for abuse and horror. On that positive note, I think we should move on to the last segment of the show then.
Okay.
So we've got the lightning round, 5 sort of A or B questions, and then 2 big questions before we end off the show. And the lightning round is you just give me I usually like to talk through them, so it's not so much a lightning round, but but we can go from there. So the first question then is, since we talked a lot about superheroes, Marvel or DC superheroes, which do you have a preference?
Marvel.
And is that because they're better developed as people kind of thing, or more down to earth?
I think so. Yeah. Although I mean, it's not fair. I started with the Adam West as Batman as a kid. I grew up with that, but it's got to be Marvel these days.
Oh, these days especially. Yeah. So we talked about AI a little bit. So Jarvis or Ultron, since they're flip sides of the same character, basically.
Oh, I love Ultron. Oh my gosh, Ultron is so underrated as a movie. Ultron's like one of my favorite villains in the MCU. What a great question.
I do like the way they depicted him, actually. Yeah, they're just like aggressive and explosive in his, and had that the worst of Tony Stark expressed as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It was very. I liked it a lot. I know it's not people's favorite movie, but I like it. I think it's underrated.
So Black Widow or Catwoman?
Oh, Black Widow. Yeah, I like her.
Any reason particularly?
I waited a long time for her movie and really did enjoy it a lot when it came out. I like how she kind of threads through the different movies. It depends. She changes a lot. We talked about this in the seminar I did yesterday based on the movie, just because you had all these kind of like different writers writing her and everything. But I love Winter Soldier. Black Widow, she's a badass, but she's also like, you start to see a little bit of what's going on with her, and I don't know. I just maybe spent more time with her than Catwoman, but
yeah. They missed the boat there, I think, with the movie. There was enough following of her, even early on in the first or second phase,
Yeah.
they could have easily fit a movie in, and it would have been better, I think, because after she died, they put the movie in, and it didn't really fit anywhere. People kind of also people really wanted to see, I think, how the relationship between her and Hawkeye developed as well,
Yeah,
and that's what we
I
were
know.
kind
And
of
then
really
they
hoping
just
for.
brought it over to Bruce Banner. I was like, what? That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't get but I would have liked to see the Black Widow movie before she died in the last one, because I was angry about that. And then when I saw the movie, I was like, no, actually, this is great. It makes sense with her character. But I needed to see that. I would have liked to see that before Endgame, so that she could have gotten the full credit for her sacrifice. In my opinion, that Tony's character was so wonderfully developed. I mean, you watch him all the way through and it's so well done and it works so well, his sacrifice. And I would, if all they needed to do was to give me that movie before Endgame, and I would have been like, yep, this makes total sense that she would make the sacrifice for Hawkeye's family. But I just felt like Hawkeye, I've barely seen Hawkeye. What, like, I've seen her way more than him. I didn't, it fell a little flat for me. So I would have liked to see the movie before. Yep.
Yeah,
Not
no,
much
I
of a
agree.
lightning.
I think most fans were like that. Character that was she was a background character that was still important and still loved, and
Yes.
could
Yeah.
have been developed much better to that sacrificial point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, we did eventually get it. So I'm okay. I'm satisfied with that.
So Guardians of the Galaxy or the original Star Wars trilogy?
No. Okay. I have to say the original Star Wars trilogy, because that's probably like my entrance into sci-fi and space. But please don't really absolutely ever make me choose, because I do love them both, but it has to be Luke Skywalker and all those guys.
Of the Guardians of the
Princess Leia.
Galaxy, then, which was your favorite one?
I love Drax. Because of how I know he's like one of the side characters, but I just love how literal he is, and you know, he just makes me laugh every word that he says, pretty much, unless he's making me cry because he has a really sad backstory, and so it's a really nice combination of that, like, oh, you laugh, but then you pay for it.
So did you
So he's probably my
enjoy
favorite.
how his
Oh, but
arc was wrapped
Nebula,
up?
I love Nebula too.
Oh,
Sorry, go
okay.
ahead.
No, I was asking, did you enjoy how his arc was wrapped up in the third one then?
Oh, I haven't seen the third one yet,
Ah,
because
okay.
I have 7-year-old and a 2-year-old and haven't been able to make it. So I know I'm a bad fan, but when it comes out rentable on either Apple or Disney, then I will watch it.
So I won't
I
spoil
really
it
wanted to see
then.
I really wanted to see it. Don't spoil it for me, but I should have given that warning.
I'll just say my daughter refuses to see it because she's seen some clips of Rocket's backstory and his arc, and she said they're too sad, so she
Oh,
refuses to see it.
I mean, the second movie had like, I think I cried at the end of the second movie, but I really like that combination of that humor. I mean, there's some of the funniest movies I've seen, and they always make me laugh, and yet there's always this deep connection with the characters. I really love that. I like Nebula. I was really surprised by Nebula and the way she came into the story and everything too. So I don't know. I like the combination, so I won't refuse to see it. I'll see it.
It does feel like, without spoiling anything, that Nebula might be one of the ones that continues on for a bit afterwards. But we'll see. I won't say anything more. Last of the
She does
lightning.
a good job, Karen Gillan.
Yeah, no, she did. Babylon 5 or Firefly?
Oh, I think I'm gonna go with Firefly. Just that's a rewatchable. I just watch it again and again, it's gonna be a favorite. Although I'm kind of a Stargate girl too, so I don't know. That
So with
wasn't one of the
Firefly, when
options.
you watch it, then do you watch the series and then watch the movie afterwards to sort of
Yeah.
finish it up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to. You
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
wrap it up. It's a
Exactly.
shame that it didn't go on. I think Nathan Fillion would like pick up the mantle right now if you gave him the option. He seems to always be talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm doing a tabling event at Fandom Fest, which is in Schenectady near me, and Alan Tudyk is going to be there. So that's going to be cool. He was the pilot in Firefly.
Oh, okay.
For those who
Awesome.
don't.
Excellent. So just to finish off the two big questions, So since for your series we spent most of the time on, you had kind of what I'll call the road trip through the galaxy, like the motley crew in their spaceship, right? So
Yes.
for us to get to that, what I call road trip through the galaxy phase of our existence, if it's possible, uh, what are three things you think we might need to develop? And I'll put some limitations on these three. That one has to be technological, one infrastructural, and one is psychosocial. So they can't all be
Okay,
just
this is a good
technological. That'd be too
question.
easy.
Sure. No, well, the technological one I think is simple, which is the one that the Expanse takes on the most. Is they have the Epstein drive, the way to go faster. We have to be able to travel faster. We probably like maybe there are these plasma currents. That would be cool. I have to look that up. We might not get gates or wormholes or whatever, but we do need to be able to travel faster. That's the technology part of it. Infrastructure, I think we all need to learn to work together a little better. I mean, this isn't something that is going to be like one country could send us into the stars. So I think that we need to have some cooperation and a way to does that count? Is that psychosocial or is that infrastructure? You need the psychosocial so you can build the infrastructure.
So yeah,
That's a
so what I
cheating
was
answer.
a little bit, yeah, you did kind of mix them too. I was kind of getting at the idea of will we have to change our or manage our psychological approach as we leave the planet, for
Yeah.
example.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, one of the biggest things that they are studying when it comes to bringing astronauts even as far as Mars is how are they going to handle this long trip there and the isolation and what if they had developed relationships between each other and how are they going to handle that, just the isolation and the changes to the body and the things that we don't know. Like I think that we need to become more comfortable with the unknown as well. So it's like a combination of knowing enough to send people safely so that they don't, have mental health breakdowns, but also like being somewhat comfortable with not necessarily knowing, which is one of the reasons I like intergenerational spaceship stories.
I can't
Is
help
that
but wonder, having had this discussion a few times, are we being too elitist in our approach to, let's say, trying to build a community on Mars? Because, like you say, there are these psychological issues we're going to have to consider, but the people we choose for these trips, usually we're picking the most well-adjusted people who are most accomplished and have actually integrated best with the society they're already living in, right? So they actually tend to have something to lose. And we
yeah.
have, for example, we have a vast number, especially in Europe, of people who are basically giving up everything to come over to Europe, right? I mean, they're taking this journey, very dangerous journey across the ocean, across the seas, to get to our countries. These kind of people have that attitude already inherently in them, right? And
Mhm.
I'm not
Yeah.
suggesting throw these people into space and risk killing
Unwillingly.
them all,
No, no, no.
but they have that's the attitude that's necessary to actually go
Yeah.
attempt to build a community on another planet. And I
Yeah.
think
I
we're
mean
losing it in the
that's
West. So yeah,
yeah,
but
I think maybe some more open-mindedness and more, and I mean, maybe that's another reason to kind of be working together with more countries and bringing in more, um, just different experiences and less of the first world. I mean, like, what would I do? I may have the cushiest, you know, middle class existence. So,
yeah,
and I'm not, again, not at all saying that you should put people against their will, but I think
no,
it's a
no,
good, you need people that have grit and you might learn a lot by bringing them into this kind of discussion. It's a
yeah,
great point.
because I
Make
think
a good
like
story.
the more you have to lose, the more afraid you are going to be to go to this
Mhm.
environment. Of course, we end up with the problem of if we were recruiting people for building a community on Mars from sub-Saharan Africa, we'd be accused of being racist, right? Even though,
Well, that's why you have to bring everybody into the conversation.
yeah,
and understand where everyone's coming from. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's a good point.
Well, because I look at it like this, potentially the people who like this, where we filled up the frontiers on Earth more or less, and now basically you've got governments and companies just controlling and buying everything. So the potential for the average person to get somewhere and build their own dynasty is almost
Yeah,
non-existent. But anyone who goes, let's say, to Mars and manages to make something of it, that's an immense amount of future potential for them and
yeah,
their family and their legacy. And that's got to be a massive driving force for, especially for anyone who has almost nothing to start from.
yeah.
Us
No,
cozy
that's a
people, we don't want to give up what we have, but someone who's given that massive amount of potential for a future legacy.
could be
So
exciting.
yeah, it could be. We'll see. um, so all right, so you have a series on superhumans, as we mentioned, we've discussed. So if you were guiding human development, and I'm meaning largely physical development rather than psychological, although psychological might come into it, what factors would you concentrate on so that the humans 100 years from now might seem almost superhuman compared to those of today? Not necessarily developing superhuman powers, but if you, like, for example, if you look back 100 years, the lifespans were shorter. They were generally, didn't live as healthy lives. Whereas now we might seem almost superhuman to them in some ways.
Hmm. I mean, I think that continuing sort of a futuristic, I've futuristic medicine kind of, responding to some of the major issues that we have with cancer and with various like vaccines and things like that, and becoming more you know resistant to some of the illnesses that we have. Like if we cured cancer, we would be total superheroes to the people who are looking at it now. So I guess that's probably where I would focus, would be on like medical research. And um if we're like if we're looking in a strictly realistic kind of way that I could actually see happening. If we're going to the stars, we'd need to like, you know, be more resilient against radiation and things like that, or build ships that are. But in terms of actual science that's being done, I mean, cancer research, I mean, tuberculosis is still a problem in a lot of parts of the world. If anyone follows John Green, you hear about that on a daily basis. And I just feel like if we develop more like technology, like health technology, that would probably make us seem like superheroes or people down the line. Is
That'd
that
be
a good
interesting.
answer? I
Yeah.
don't know.
That's a difficult question. So it's curious to see. I should ask that one as a general one because I'd be curious to get a wide range of answers on it, because there's all kinds of directions you can go, isn't there? I mean, there's also the
Yeah.
development of sort of the human spirit, for lack of a better word, which could
It's
be
true.
something as well. So you never know
Yeah.
what would be. Yeah. I mean, and of
Yeah.
course we're largely ignoring cybernetics.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that there are certain, it certainly could fit into the world of kind of healing, or if you're talking about, growing limbs and things like that, they're already doing it. Some amazing things in that field. So it'd be cool to see where we are in 100 years.
Yeah. As always, lots of subjects we could continue talking on forever, but I think we'll have to end it here. So it has been great chatting with you. Like I say, unfortunately, that is all our time. But before we go, maybe you could tell us what you have coming out next and sort of where to find you online, and if you have any upcoming events you'll be at.
Sure. I am online at katesheeranswed.com. I have had to take all of the products off my website. I had to do yesterday because I had an issue. Hopefully it'll be back up by the time this is going out. And right now I'm actually part of an anthology of a bunch of science fiction authors, and it's going to be available until August 15th. So I just wanted to be mentioning that if you go to books to read.com/infinite-worlds, You can find it, and it has a book by Carol C. Gockel, J.J. Green, Jesse Quack, John Wilker, S.J. Bryant, myself, and I am forgetting somebody. Oh, E.J. Fish, whose book Dakiti is amazing. And so it's free, and it's 40 plus hours of reading. So that's like the main thing that's out. It just came out. And the next thing in my series is just book 6 in the Parse Galaxy.
And when is that available?
That's going to be out July 25th.
July 25th.
Yes, July 25th.
And you have book 7 listed for October or something. Is that?
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Excellent.
I'm already working on it. Yeah. I like to have the next one on pre-order before the previous one is out, so that we can keep the chain going. And so people know when the next book is coming. And if it's going to be a month later than usual, well, at least they know it's coming.
Right. Excellent. So Kate Sheeran Swed, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for listening. Information and links related to this and all episodes are available at alternatefutures.co.uk. I'm also over at Substack under Alternate Futures, where I post articles on science fiction, socio-technological issues, and futurism. You can subscribe for free or sign up for a paid account if you'd like to support the podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, why not share it with friends, writers, and other sci-fi fans you know? And if there are any indie sci-fi creators you'd like to see featured, send me a message at podcast@alternatefutures.co.uk. Once again, I'd like to thank you for listening, and I hope you'll join me on the next episode.
This is the future. Human error. Evolution. This is the future.